Hey guys, it is apparent that throughout the course of the semester, some of you are going to be out sick, some of you are going to be quarantined. So I need to provide a way to give you information that we learned in class to help you keep moving through class. So as I said at the first day of school, everything is basically in the calendar and in the module section. So just as a quick little reminder there, the calendars are here. So if you click on those calendars, you can go to the particular day that you are absent for, that you're inquiring about, and you can find it right there. Um, so once you figure out what we're doing, you can head to the module that we're in. So that's the one thing you have to keep up with, is which module is which. But when you go into the modules, I have them broken down by weeks. So when it loads, it'll load at the beginning and then go. So this one was everything from the 24th to the 30th. So that brings us to tomorrow. So this is everything that's due within that week. So some of you went on quarantine a couple of days ago. So I'm going to start back with the lab on Thursday and work my way forward as far as what we need to do. So for those of you that were missing the lab, if you go to the cell lab right here in the module page, it was a microscope lab where we looked at various cells. So you can read over the lab procedure that's going to pop up here in a minute, that's embedded into this page. But simply, we looked at 4 different slides. I would like for you to look at them in this order. These are just the pictures of the slides right here, and be able to make observations. So that's all we're doing. So based on, this is a root tip, so do roots go with animals or plants? And then make observations about those. So size, color, shape, texture, like whatever you can notice. And then so these are the 3 knowns. So alum root tip is a plant, the typical plant cell, and then epithelium human, so that's obviously an animal cell, and then the euglena is an unknown. You have the name of it, and I ask that you do not look that up until we get everything done. So, because I want it to be a very unbiased perspective. So, you're going to make observations of those 3. You're going to open up the euglena picture. You're going to look at it and make observations. And while you're making those observations, I want you to start tying your other observations to the euglena cell. And so that's where we're at. So that's what we did on the lab on Thursday. From there, the homework that was then generated, we kind of put the lab on hold, and then we decided to do our homework for the next day. So if we go back to Module 1, Basics of Life, we're going to go to, it's going to freak out, yep, Characteristics of Life table. So let's talk a little bit about what that is. So in this page, what you're going to see is, this is a picture from the book. So this is actually a page from the book on Characteristics of Life. We'll get you hooked up with book access momentarily for those of you that were out this day or the day before and weren't able to get a hold of that book access. So what is life? Here are the characteristics of life as they go through that. So down here in a Google, embedded Google Doc. If you don't like typing in it that small, if you click this link right here, it's going to open up in a new window, which is really big and nice, so you can kind of see it at that point and where it is. So what this is there are the 7 characteristics of life on this first column here, and for each one of those, you're going to go back and do 3 things. The first one is a description. So, and I'll be very honest with you, a lot of this comes from the notes that we had in class on like the first full day of school, going through those notes that we typed up on the computer. So you're going to fill these in. So definitions, just answering these questions, make a description. An example is an example of that in the real world. This is where your book will come into play. You can look up other things, but that might be a good idea. And then for viruses, for this column, you're basically going to say, does a virus have this characteristic of life? So yes or no. And then if it does, you're going to provide evidence in something you've read based on our virus infographic or other research that you've done that says, here's why viruses do this, or here's why viruses don't do this. So whether you do it or don't, you have to provide evidence. So you're going to fill that in all the way down. Once you're done with that, you'll go back to the original page, and in the student version, there'll be a submit button. I think it's about right here that you can access. So once you're done, you click submit, and I'll get that assignment. So that was the homework that night, on Thursday night. Then on Friday, we basically went over this. We had a class debate that was, I let the kids, the students, tell me for each characteristic which way they fell for a virus, yes or no. And then we just had a conversation about it, so we didn't do a whole lot there. Then we went back to the lab to reinforce what we did for the lab. So here's what we did for the lab. So this isn't due until Monday, so they're working on it in the weekend. So this is the CER presentation. So let me kind of click on that and open that up for you. So it says one lab partner will open the link below. Unfortunately, because you're on quarantine and you're kind of doing this on your own, you won't be in a group for this, so you'll just have to submit it on your own, which for some of you that may be better and some of you may not. It just depends, but unfortunately it is what it is. So before I talk about this, I'm going to go real quick. So I'm going to leave this up, and I'm going to go open up a new tab to show you what I'm going to ask you to do in there before I show you that form. So I'm going to go back to Module 1, and I'm going to go back to that cell lab procedure. So I'm going to wait for that to open. And then, so under cell lab, and I'm going to make these directions bigger so we can kind of see them, and I'm going to kind of talk about what we need to do. So open that up in a new window. So CER stands for Claim Evidence Reasoning, and that's what I'm going to have you do. For those of you that have had class with me before, this is basically a whiteboarding session is what it is. So normally we whiteboard after every lab. In biology, data is a little different, so it's not necessarily all graphs and things. So that link up there is going to give you a template that looks exactly like this right here. And you're going to fill in these 4 boxes. So the guiding question, so that's the question the lab is answering. In class, I kind of asked that out loud, and the question kind of became, and I gave it to them, was, what kind of cell is a euglena? That's what we're asking. You're going to make a claim. A euglena is blank. So whether you say it's plant, animal, both, neither, some other thing that you have done some research and figured out, again, don't look up euglena, let it sit. And then, so that's your claim. The evidence right here is going to be the evidence that you are providing to support that claim. The evidence is what comes from you looking at those pictures. That's what I want you to reference as the picture. So in plant cells that I looked at, I saw blank. The euglena had the same thing, is kind of what you want to do. So these 3 boxes right here are fairly simple. What's going to be the difficult box is this one here. So justification of evidence. That's where you're going to take the web quest that we did, or other information that you remember from middle school, or researched information about plant, animal cells, other bacteria cells, whatever, and apply that. So for example, I'm going to walk you through a simple one. So I'm claiming that a euglena is a plant cell. The evidence was, in a plant cell, I saw chloroplast. So I saw chloroplast in the plant cell. I also saw chloroplast in the euglena, let's just say. So that's my evidence. My justification is plant cells, you don't have to cite your source, but plant cells are the only cell that has euglena or has chloroplast in them. So that would go in that box there. As far as evidence goes, you need at least one piece of evidence, but as we all know, with any good argument or claim you're making, the more evidence you have is the better as we go through. So, you can kind of read through this, like they ask some guiding questions here and things like that, but really what I'm going to have you do is fill that out. So if we go back to the slide, if you click that template, it'll open up a Google slide. It'll make a copy in your Google Drive where you can basically fill that in. And then you're going to do a file upload. So I've asked students not to do anything until Monday to upload that because we're going to present those in class on Monday. So I don't want them to submit it to me until they are ready to do it at that point. So that was the weekend, or that was the last couple of days of this week to do the lab, the homework for that, and there we go. I know this is not going to be easy. I'm going to try to put one of these together every day or two. My goal is every day so that way you can kind of follow along. I realize that even though everything's on Canvas, this isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do without kind of getting instructions and things like that. So I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible on all of us and provide you with this help and this information. So I hope this works. And as always, feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you need anything, especially through Remind. That's a really awesome way to get a hold of me, but also through email works as well. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you when you are better and or off quarantine.